We're thrilled to have you on, Mr. James. Val James. First time I ever heard your name was Valmore James. Jim Pizzatelli raved about Valmore James and the person that you were, and it's great to have you on the Instigators.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you know, it's Black History Month, and there's a game night to go box. You can get it at Sabres Game Night, and inside there are some great items in the box, ladies and gentlemen. But probably the best item in the box is the Breaking Barrier shirt that you were the inspiration of. Edreys Wajed, the artist, designed a shirt, and you were a huge inspiration behind that shirt. When did you hear about this?
I only just recently heard about the shirt, probably in the last 6 weeks. So I was very honored that he would pick me to do something on. It was a great honor, and also to be involved with the groups that actually are behind this shirt. You know, Breaking Barriers Buffalo, the NBA Braves team. You know, so to be even included in a group like that is honor alone. And I just have to say thank you, because a lot of thought went into making this shirt. I don't know if anyone has actually watched the interviews that that Edreys gave earlier on how he made the shirt and what was behind his thought in making the shirt. But if they haven't, it's probably a good idea for them to check that out. Then they have the history of exactly what's going on with that picture.
Well, part of the inspiration, and it says on the shirt, is you were the first African American to play in the National Hockey League, and it happened to be with the Buffalo Sabres. Now we all know the story of Willie O'Ree, you know, being the first man of color to play in the National Hockey League. But did you know at the time that you were breaking such a barrier, if we want to say that you were the first American Black hockey player to play in the National Hockey League?
No, I never even thought twice about it. Someone had to actually bring it to my attention that that's what I had just done. And still at the time, it didn't have that whole lot of impact. You don't really think about it. Like I said to someone else, I was more interested in trying to be a hockey player rather than a Black hockey player. To me, I was just a normal guy.
So you didn't understand that there was a significance behind what you were doing.
Well, I didn't really, digested it, I guess. I just kind of said, oh, okay, that's great. And that's, and went with it.
Were you familiar with the history of, obviously Willie O'Ree? I think you told me before you met Willie O'Ree.
Yes, I did. During when I was playing with Roch, we went to went out east to play hockey, and he was at the Moncton Airport. Actually, he was headed out somewhere. I don't know where. He never said, but someone pointed out that was Willie O'Ree, and I kind of looked around and went, where? I know his name, but I didn't know him. So I met him. I was probably 23.
So coming up, and you talk about you weren't aware of what kind of impact you were having on the game in the United States. Were you aware of the history of obviously Willie O'Ree too, but other Black hockey players that had played by that point in the NHL?
Well, at the time, the only other Black hockey players that we actually had access to would have been anything that Willie O'Ree had done, or I don't know if you remember a gentleman by the name of Alton White, because he was playing in the WHA once that broke in. I think that was a Dave Gorman thing too, right? So it was those are pretty much the only guys I knew at the time, and over the years, of course, I've learned more.
Val James joining us here, and he's the inspiration behind the Breaking Barrier shirt. You can check that out, sabresgamenighttogo.com. It's the Sabres Game Night to Go box, sabresgamenight.com.
So let me ask you this, Mr. James, you grew up on the East Coast, Long Island, but even I look at your track record, you played in Quebec in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. You had to work your way through the minors and all of that. So that had to be exhausting in itself. Did you occur some instances where you thought, well, I'm being victimized here, obviously, because I'm a man of color, or just the grind to be wanting to be an NHL player was that the maybe the first priority for you? What was it like?
It was the grind to be an NHL player. I never thought at any point that anyone was against me, but I'm sure there probably were people. But to me, it was just a matter of, if there's an obstacle in front of it, you either go around it, over it, or through it. And I just kind of looked at it like that. I had my eyes set on it, on at least playing in the NHL. So that's where I was going.
When did you start to experience any kind of racism within the game? What age were you when it first really kind of impacted you that people were pointing you out because you were black?
13 years old. We were playing in a tournament in Michigan. I won't say the city, obviously. It's in the book if you want to read the book. Which is
Black Ice,
Val
Black
James
Ice,
Story.
yep.
Publisher ECW Press out of Toronto, Ontario. That was my very first experience. I was 13 years old. We were in a tournament. And at this time, I finally was able to skate because you've heard the story. I think I told you the story about learning to skate and all that.
And you were 13 at the time when you learned to skate?
No, I was actually started about 12, almost 13. And then I had a little chair to keep me company for a while. And it kept beating me up for the first year. And then finally I was able to do my own thing, right? So what they did was they stuck me on an all-star team. And we know what happened with that. My dad was running the rink, so that meant extra ice time for all the leagues that went on. So like we had our organization was called the Suffolk Ducks. So we also had we had our little team. They were also Ducks. So we got a lot of hassling when we went on tournaments, and we actually had a pretty decent hockey organization. Like we had a lot of Canadian players at the time that were teaching our systems. Now, our actual national team really didn't get going until probably late 70s, where we were able to kind of just go out and compete a little bit. So it was one of those things that we had many Canadian players that had settled in the area and had married women from the area. So they were there, they had normal jobs, and that was just something that they would do to give back. They figured, well, these kids want to play this sport. We might as well teach them right. Don't let them go out there and start hacking around. And next thing you know, someone's hurt bad. So we had quite a few guys that helped us out. We had the names like John Muckler was one of the guys that set up the Met League with Lou Barrow, so that we would have our more or less, I guess, if you tried, well, Canadian hockey. That would probably be somewhere between Junior C and Junior B.
Okay.
So we had a pretty organized system going in. That was our only other league to go to once we got out of regular house league hockey. That was traveling hockey for us. If everyone's familiar with traveling hockey, that's usually some of the best players that you have in your organizations.
Mr. James, I was reading an article, and it talked about after you retired that, you didn't watch hockey for almost 10 years.
No.
And, you just didn't want to, to recall all the times that it says that you felt diminished, humiliated, and alienated by the nastiness of others. Can you just tell us, I didn't watch hockey either when I retired for a number of years, just because, man, I hated hockey. I just needed to get away from it. But you,
I know
you very, very different. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you know what? After years and years, one thing that you got to understand is that hockey is a 60-minute game, first off. Okay, now, when you get out there, you got to realize that for every 3 seconds, maybe 5, I was being called something. Now, if you do the math and math that out for the 60 minutes, that's a lot of times to be called something. And then you kind of put that over an 82 game schedule for 10 years. Okay, so there's your number. And after a while, it doesn't matter who you are and what you get called, it's going to eventually sink in and destroy you psychologically somehow. And so eventually, towards the end, I just had enough. And it was like, once I got out of it, why would I watch? It would bring back all those memories of people just trying to abuse me. And I know it was just something to get me off my game, but still, nonetheless, it was abuse, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So what brought you back to the game? Was there a point of forgiveness? Was there a point of that kind of let go? I mean,
I kind of missed it. When you do something for that many years in your life, you get away from it. You walk away, but you always got one eye looking back to see what's going on. So when John Gallagher, the co-author of the book, approached me, and John from Long Island as well, he was always into Instigators. So he followed me my whole career. He asked me if I'd like to write a book with him, and I said sure. So to me, that was the best therapeutic aid that I could have done, because it got me to tell some of these stories and just get them off my chest. Once you get something off your chest, it's usually a lot better.
Did you
So
receive calls after you wrote your book? Did you receive calls or letters from people that had called you names or maybe wanted to apologize, teammates or opponents, friends?
There were quite a few people that put up a posting on Twitter and social media that they didn't realize how much what they do affect people. And so I guess you can say that was my main goal, was to get that message out to people that, you know what, you can't do that to someone continuously, because it's going to affect them in an adverse way. And a few people caught on, a few just didn't give a care, but that's how it is.
Now, when you were playing, and I am going to bring up the Rochester Americans, I got my hat on, my shirt on. I had 2.5 fantastic years in Rochester. It really built a foundation for me. Now, you were in Rochester. You guys had a ton of success. We mentioned Jim Pizzatelli was your trainer there, and Pizza used to tell us stories about you and all the other ones and the wrecking crew there. But what was your time with your teammates in Rochester and having that success and being part of that team? And you said you used to be called like many different things during a game. Like, was there ever times where your teammates would stand up and step up for you and be with you in that battle, or was it completely different at the time?
No, most of the time my teammates were there, but I was really afraid that a lot of my teammates were going to get hurt, because they had no fear in backing me when it came to that. They were right beside me the whole time. I can remember we went to a rink in Massachusetts, and it wasn't Boston. So, and people had the audacity to come in with KKK hoods on and sit in the front row of the stands. Okay.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I was just like, really? Of all the things to do, at that point I'd been subjected to posters with native people with bones through their noses, or people walking in with spears and crap like that, right? Bananas being thrown all over the place. So it's like, I'd seen quite a bit of bull crap up to that point.
So your concern was more about your teammates getting hurt, standing in the way, that you were about yourself getting hurt because you had been subjected to that for a long time?
Yes. Well, you know what? It's nice to have people backing you, but for them to get hurt over something like that, which is, of course, is going to get you upset when people call you names and that. But to me, it's something that I wouldn't want to see anybody get hurt trying to protect me. I can protect myself, but if I got overwhelmed, sure, it'd be nice to have help. But up to that point, it's not necessary for them to get hurt over something that someone's saying to me.
Wow.
Val James joining the Instigators here. He has a book out. It's called Black Ice, and you should check it out. The Breaking Barrier shirt is available in this month's Game Night to Go box. It's Black History Month, and this shirt was inspired by Edreys Wajed, and it's a great shirt. Go check it out. Val James was the inspiration of the shirt when the artist found out that Val James was the first Black American-born player to play in the NHL right here in Buffalo. One of the questions I wanted to ask, as we're talking about your career and some of the things that you had to deal with, what are your thoughts toward how the game has evolved from the standpoint of trying to end racism inside the sport of hockey, specifically the sport of hockey, but others as well, but inside hockey, so that kids of color can grow up and play the game and not have to deal with the things that you dealt with?
Well, if you look at a lot of the rinks today, they have the policies in where anyone who's making disruptive comments or anything like that, they're usually thrown out. Back in the day, what, you bought a ticket, you could say what you want, do what you want. Remember the days you used to smoke cigarettes in the stand. So it's like things have changed drastically, even since the 80s. Now, I can remember I ended my career, 1988, something like that, in Baltimore. And even at that time, things were still really bad. There were still people coming up and saying things and maybe making signs so that they could antagonize you that way. But when you look at what the NHL's done with their rinks, they're throwing people out for being idiots, all the time. Yeah. And And I'm so happy that they stepped up and did something like that, because that'll have a trickle down effect to all the other rinks. You know, you're talking junior rinks, we're talking semi-pro rinks, we're talking American League is pro, but there are also semi-pro teams as well that play. You know, and if everyone adapts this, it will change everything. People will realize, you know what, I'm gonna spend $300 or whatever they spend for a ticket for that night. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna lose my right to watch the game. Plus, I'm gonna lose my right to come back to the game for a few months, and I'm not gonna get refunded for anything that I paid for it up to this point. So that makes a person think, well, is it really necessary for me to call someone a name? You know, you make people start second thinking about their actions. And once you have people doing that, that's when change happens.
Val James joining us here on the Instigators. The inspiration behind the Breaking Barrier shirt, which you can get at sabresgamenight.com. Actually, that's wrong. I apologize. No, that's right. That's right. Sabresgamenight.com. I even look at that, Val. I even surprise myself sometimes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's good to be right every now and then. I'll pat myself on the back. The Game Night to Go box. Lots of great items in the box, but you can get the Breaking Barrier shirt. Val was the inspiration for the shirt. And we're so grateful to have you on today too. And
well, I'm so grateful to be on, and thank you.
Well, we're not ending it. We're not ending it. You're not going anywhere yet. We're not.
I just want to thank the artist. I'm not leaving on you yet.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Now you can say what you need to. Go ahead. You want to thank the artist?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Wajed for his inspirational T-shirt, and all the groups that are involved. And I also like to thank the Sabres for everything they've done to bring this to light to everyone. And I want to thank the book company for the book, The Black Ice, the Val James Story.
Yeah, like
okay,
that.
so
Very nice. Yeah.
That's a great helmet you have on. That's called the Knuckle Buster.
That's
yeah,
the,
it sure is.
Is that the
Hey.
Cooper?
That's the
Yeah,
old Mark
that's the
Messier. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's that. Yeah, that hurt a few hands. Oh, I saw you throwing down at the beginning of this too.
Yeah, well, you have to bluff every now and then. Hey, you listen. You'd have to lose those ear clips this day and age. Those ear clips have to go.
Oh, you don't like
Not your
those?
ear,
On the
no,
helmet,
not on the helmet.
yeah.
On the helmet.
Oh,
Now, you
yeah,
got
yeah,
them in the NHL. You lost them, but in the helmet, you got those ear clips.
Yeah, well,
What do you think?
I gotta ask though. Do you still have those helmets? Do you still have those helmets somewhere in the house?
This helmet? No, I have one like it though.
All right, you gotta keep that. Those are.
I always do. I've still got equipment that is 80s style. Okay, I haven't moved up to the 2000s yet. You know, the garter belt, the socks, the whole 9 yards. It's not all one piece, right? I can remember I went to play hockey once a few years back, and I had all the old equipment. I jumped in, I started putting this stuff on, and all the young kids were just staring at me.
Yeah,
So
a garter belt.
Yeah,
They
but
don't know what a garter belt
They
is.
just lost it, right?
If I-
Is that what you use to hold your socks up? I'm going, yeah.
If I were a betting man, I would say that you had suspenders on too.
Yep, I sure did. and you know the little belt we used to put around the pants too? Had all of that on too.
Val
That's
James.
great.
Val James joining us here on the Instigators. You know, you talk about the era that you played in. You were a big, strong, tough player. And what do you think of the game today?
I think the game has evolved. It's a fast game. The players are definitely bigger. I think that the European style has come into the North American game, and we've integrated it like that. Now, we had to, because what we did was our strong, rough and tough and tumble type of game went over to Europe, and they kind of refined it for us. And now they sent some of it back to us, and now we've seen how it can go. So we've adapted our systems to that. And that all started, if I'm not mistaken, with Mike Keenan back in the 80s, because he was teaching us European style hockey and how to play at that point in time in Rochester. So,
Well, it sounds to me like you're saying that Mike Keenan ruined hockey then. Val James said it right here.
Is that what
Petey,
you hear?
yeah,
That's what
wanna
I
say
heard.
this.
Right
You
out
talk
of your
about-
mouth.
Val, you talk about rough and tumble. So a story that Pizza used to tell us all the time is the War Memorial in Rochester. The visiting team used to come in, and then they had to take the elevator downstairs or take the stairs right to their locker room.
Yeah.
And you used to have your boxing robe, and you used to like cut your sticks down as the teams were coming in, like intimidate the other team. Like how how was the intimidating factor when you were able to intimidate the other teams when they came in like that to Rochester?
It was it worked. You know,
It worked.
right away they were thinking, oh geez, man, 60 minutes of this, we got guys running around trying to kill us all night long. You know, let's get this over with quick. Let's just mail them the 2 points and get out of here. Really.
I want to ask you something. No, go ahead. Finish what you were going to say. I thought you were finished.
It worked out. The intimidation factor was pretty good, and everyone liked to use it back then. Even Brof used it. He used to have me stand on the side of the boards with my underwear down halfway, with bare chested, arms all pumped up, right? Make me do push-ups before I went out there. It was like, wow, okay.
Hey Val, go get a good pump on and take your shirt off and stand out in front of it. Were you ever scared to fight?
Not really. You can't really get hurt fighting. You only get hurt if you're dumb. Okay, well, it's true. You only get hurt if you're dumb. You know yourself that if things start going bad, all you do is get in tight. The guys that were turtling, that was the wrong thing.
Unless you're already asleep, Val.
Well, yeah, that's
you
true.
You can't grab in and hold on if you're already asleep.
That's true. That's true. But the thing is, just if you're going out, you can tell. You just kind of lean in and put your body weight on them, and hopefully they'll go down with you.
You just hope the legs stay underneath you for one more second so you can bury your face in the crest.
Yeah, we've been there before too.
Yeah.
We've all been there. It's like it was like I can remember I was fighting Jay Frazier, and he kind of rung my bell a little bit, and it was like, wow. I didn't think he had all of that, right? But he did. Jay was a good fighter.
Did you have one?
He was a nice guy too.
Go ahead, Martin.
I was gonna say, what is your greatest achievement, like in hockey or in life? Like, what would you consider? And you could say here on this show, that was my greatest achievement.
I think my greatest achievement were all the championships I was able to accumulate over the years, considering that everyone thought that I would never have a chance at even getting on a team that would win championships. I proved quite a few people wrong, and I was very proud of the fact that I could gel with. It was 3 different teams that I've won championships with, and if you let's see, we had one in Quebec, we had it in, had 3 in a row in Erie, we had the Calder Cup. I really can't say that things went bad. I had a pretty good career. I would have loved to have stayed in the NHL and played a little bit more there, but still, the fact being is that I did get there. That was the bottom line to get there. The bottom line probably would have been to stay, but during the time when I was trying to be there were so many people that had long-term contracts that by the time I would even get a good sniff, it would have been 4 or 5 years down the line. Mm-hmm. So I got my sniff, and I was gonna be with the team. So they said. And that's when I blew my knee out. That was the year I blew my knee out. So that kind of set me back. It actually just destroyed everything, because at that point, I'm already 24, 25 years old. It's going to take you 2 years to get back into it the way you should. By then you're 27, 28, everything's hurting, and then you're back, and grind it down. So it's pretty much over.
How's the body feel nowadays?
Oh, it hurts. Like that. I can tell you when it's going to snow. I can tell you when it's going to rain. I can predict weather. It's like my knees a little sore, back sore. Back on us guys, backs are always sore. So once we get a little older, lifting all the weights and that. But other than that, I'm still getting along pretty good. Everything else is working pretty good. The mind's still there. It's it's waning a little bit, but it's still there.
You seem more sharp than all of us.
I don't know about that. Hey, you got a podcast. I don't.
Well, actually, I'll correct you there. It's actually a radio show. It's not a podcast.
I'm sorry. Radio show. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
That's the new lingo. The new kids call it a podcast.
Yes,
I love it.
yes. I refuse to be called.
Sometimes I'm stuck in the middle. I don't know what to say because everything's changed so much.
Yeah.
Well, we're on TV too, so we're a TV show too. There.
We're everything.
So not the
two.
Yeah, we call that a simulcast. Not a big deal. Val James joining us here. The inspiration behind the Breaking Barrier shirt. You can get that in the Game Night to Go box. It's at sabresgamenight.com. I'll tell you more about what's inside the box, but most importantly, the Breaking Barrier shirt. And Val James was the inspiration behind that shirt. Last question I have for you. And it's not a serious one. I'm curious to know. Tell me about your call up or your moment when you knew you were going to the show.
Wow. I got told the day before, or we had practice, and I got called that afternoon to let me know that I was going to be called up to Buffalo. It was 45-minute ride, something like that. So, and even then, at that point, I got so nervous that it was unbelievable. I was sweating bullets, right? So I had to report, and I had a couple days practice before we actually played a game, so that I could kind of get used to the team. And man, the guys were at least a step faster than what I was used to down with the American Hockey League. It was night and day, the talent difference and how fast things happen, and it made everything true in my mind that they were teaching us down with the Americans, that you stay in your position, the puck's going to come, doesn't matter, just stay there. You know, even if you lose, it's going to come back there at some point in that shift. And I saw a lot of that, and a lot of the things that they were telling us to do, the stick handling, the stand with your check, the back check, and where you're supposed to be standing. They seem like very simple things, but they amount to a lot of things in a game once they accumulate. But and actually getting to the show, the guys are wonderful. I was just like, I was so hyped up. You know how your mind's like a million things are going through your mind at once. I want to make sure I'm skating right. Will my uniform look right? Am I going to make the pass right? Am I going to be able to shoot without falling on my face? And all this stuff goes through your mind.
And what do you remember from your first game?
I remember sitting there and getting ready to go out and finally getting out on the ice. And first thing that happened was I was my first one. I was in Quebec. I got a good shift. I went down the ice, got a nice pass, semi breakaway, hit the post. Damn it! That would have been my National Hockey League goal, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then I can remember all the fighting, right? Everyone used to look at me and well, who's this guy? Well, they already knew who I was. It was a matter of could I live up to the hype? That was the big question. Okay, and it was a lot of hype to live up to, because I had played with a majority of the players, whether it be in minor leagues or just pickup leagues somewhere. A lot of the players that were playing in National League I'd seen before. They knew about my fighting abilities and had kind of spread the word before I even got there. So it was one of those things. And my first fight, I think it was Crowder from Boston, one of the Crowder twins.
Troy Crowder?
Yeah. That was my first fight in the National League.
You went right to the top of the ladder,
Troy
right?
Crowder. Wow.
Dogged him too.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, you guys.
I'm going to look that one up. I'm going to look that one up on YouTube, and I'll tell you this. I'm going to score that one.
Call it up.
I will. At the break, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Val,
Yeah.
It's been awesome having you on today, sir. And we look forward to having you on again soon. And we'll get you on.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it.
Love to have you back on. It was great. You can go and get your Breaking Barrier shirt, which Val James was the inspiration.
By the way, I got the fight. I found it on YouTube. So it's Keith Crowder, Val James, March 20th, 1982 at the old Boston Garden. So if you want to find it on YouTube, it's there. Just got to do Crowder James fight, and it's there.
I think my brother was coached by Keith Crowder. Did he not coach in the American League for a little bit? I'm going to look that up. That's not your job to know that.
Like I said to you before, I wasn't sure which one it was, but they both look the same.
Yeah,
I'm hosting the show. I should have the knowledge. Thank you so much for your time, Val. Fantastic. Val James. The book has been out. It's called Black Ice, the Val James Story. The shirt is Breaking Barrier shirt. It's available in this month's Game Night to Go box. It's at sabresgamenight.com. Go check it out. Lots of goodies in there, but the shirt most important. Val James, you're the man. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much for your time as well, and say hi to everybody. And I want to thank the Sabres, and follow me at Valmore_James on Twitter.
You're on Twitter?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How
I'm
old are
following you.
Boy, I know how old you are. You're right here. I got you right here. You're. I won't say it out loud. 64. Good for you.
I thought you weren't going to say it out loud.
I did. I wasn't going to. 64 and you're on Twitter. That's awesome. Good for you. I wish my parents would follow in that suit.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have a few things that I get to post all the time, like color hockey and stuff, like black girls hockey. You know, anybody who's got something that's irreparable, I'll post it back up for them. It's just because the world has to know, right?
All right.
And Marty, you're in now.
All right, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I put the request and I'm in. Thank you, man. That's awesome.
Hey, mine says pending. You better fix that.
Okay, his says pending.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, Val. All the best.
Thank you for having me, and hopefully I get to come back again.
We will
Yes,
definitely have you on
please.
again soon. Instigators, WGR Sports Radio 550. Great catching up with Val James again. Breaking Barrier shirt. You can get it at sabresgamenight.com. We'll be right back.
Okay.